Liquorland are proud partners of the Sash, and they have the new 2021 Penfolds collection, celebrating 70 years of Grange and featuring a range for you to find your next favourite.
When I think of Penfolds, Rob, I think about the delicious Shiraz on a beautiful Sunday afternoon watching the Dons beat the Doggies, just like last night.
Gee, it doesn't get much better than that.
And 70 years ago we made the grand final.
Did we win it?
No.
Nah.
But we made it.
Even though Dry July is over, fellas, Liquorland still has you covered for lighter ways to drink with plenty of low and no alcohol options.
It's great they have those options, Rob, when I'm the designated driver. But when I am, I bring some Carlton Zeros with me and make sure I'm able to get home safely and take a couple of my friends as well.
You can also sign up to get alerts on when your favourite drinks are on special and get $10 off your first purchase. For great deals on a wide range of alcohol, go to liquorland.com.au or visit your local store. Please drink responsibly. T&Cs apply. See online for details. Okay, let's start the show.
I mean, it's nothing new that I'm the one who's carrying this podcast anyway, so...
Simply must play.
There's nothing more likely than a bloke who takes a hanger missing a set shot straight after it.
Yeah, give it a listen.
Acting as if it's like a normal thing to do with salt and vinegar chips.
I'm in a mood, Rob.
How is this the little bonus content of Kevin Sheedy?
Who are we playing this week? Who cares?
I reckon I'm 0 for 3 with creating segments at the moment.
For the love of God, don't lose to Carlton.
The 7-seater switches on the turbo as a potent Dons dispatch of the top-of-the-table Doggies. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you. And joining me on Zoom is Damo and Oli. Damo, it's a good day.
Beautiful day. After all those disastrous Sundays that we've been having to go through as Essendon supporters against probably the top side of the AFL, we got the W. So Monday, it felt very bizarre.
It certainly did. And no surprise seeing you resurface after a win, Oliver.
I told you I'm fair weather. So you could bet your bottom dollar I was going to appear after yesterday's win. But no, Rob, I'm feeling eerily content at the moment. It was a good weekend. We had the Boomers win their first medal and the Bombers obviously topping the Western Bulldogs after a winless streak of about 7 years, was it?
2014.
Yeah. So the Double cannot complain. Feels good.
Yeah, very good. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think any of us were really expecting that. I mean, we were, making a few gags in our thread pre-game. I know, Damo, you put $5 on us to lose by 100 points. I mean, some might say that's pessimism. Some might say that's hedging your bets. But look, I mean,
mate,
we know the history.
I've never felt better. Like, honestly, if that's what it takes every week to feel like that after a Sunday performance, I'll chuck money at it every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's pretty evident. Like, it's the most defining win of the Rutten era so far. Like, we were on cloud 9 after the West Coast win, the elation win over there, but. The Doggies at Marvel is no easy feat. There's only a couple of sides. Maybe I know Melbourne have done. I'm not sure if anyone else has beaten them on that deck this year, but it's a huge task, and it was a team performance. Massive.
Yeah,
really impressive. Especially because we're fighting for that final 8 spot, and we were really disappointing against GWS. We came crazy close against the Swannies. And for the boys, after everything they've been through, to put that 4-quarter performance against the top side was super impressive. And, that's just something we can carry on to into potentially finals if we make it. But if not, we can carry that win into next year and into pre-season.
I think it's exactly that for Nine Dames. Yes, it gives us a glimmer of fun. I mean, possibly even more than a glimmer, depending on how results fall. But I think it's a win that's bigger than that for mine. It's the type of win, Rob, you said it yourself as well, that you can build on going into next season. The fact that we can match it with the best, and throughout this season we've had so many close ones where we've really taken it up to stronger teams, and unfortunately we just haven't been able to close out a lot of those close ones. But this is a win, and this is a game that we were able to close out that is going to hold our younger brigade in such good stead for years to come.
Yeah, well said, well said. It was a bit of an ominous start. They controlled a lot of the ball in that first quarter. We were really just absorbing the pressure, and I know my other Essendon thread I'm in that everyone was just saying, like, we're just waiting for the sort of floodgates to open is sort of how it felt. And, when Aaron Norton kicked the first goal, the second, I was like, oh, gee, it's not looking good. I think they were up to maybe about an 18 or 20-point lead at that stage. But we stuck in there and we ground it back. And I think the part of the ground that we were most effective was just our clearance work. It was insanely good. Draper's tap work was mercurial. Merritt, Parrish and Paco, all three of them, they cut the Bulldogs apart. And I know I did a little preview with Damo Ryan on Saturday, and we were talking about how much the Doggies midfield can cut you apart. But we've seen time and time again this season, I think we already knew it with Merritt, but Parrish and Stringer, they, on their day, can just deliver some of the best balls inside 50. And you think about the last few years, it was our biggest issue, was how we delivered the ball. I'll go through some stats here for you guys, but just on those names I've mentioned. So Merritt had a goal assist with 7 score involvements, 30 touches at 87%. Parrish had a goal assist, 9 score involvements, 28 at 75. Stringer had 2 goal assists, 6 score involvements, not as many disposals, 13, but he did have 6 tackles. And then for mine as well, Semi Draper, a goal and 9 score involvements. Every time it went to a stoppage, if you said it to me last week, if you said, "Oh, we're going to take it up to Boninpelli, McRae, and Libba and beat him at the clearances," I'd say you're joking. But we did it, and it was huge.
I think Draper's a big one there. I think his tap work was really, really great. They set up really well. The centre clearances in the second half, even that last quarter, even the commentators were saying that they just knew it was like Parrish, Stringer, they're just going to get these, and they were just tapping it straight through them. And the midfielders just know where everyone is. It's really, really great. And that's only just going to get better over time. So to take it up to the Doggies was very exciting to see.
Yeah, so just on some of those numbers to elaborate, I guess, on the midfield performance. Clearances, we won 47-31. Centre clearances, 18-12. Stoppage clearances, 29-19. So it's just not a part of our, the Essendon brand that has been apparent in the last years. I mean, we've always been crying out for inside midfielder to help take us to the next level. It's part of the reason why Dunkley nominated to come to us last year and why we pursued him so heavily, because it was such a glaring weakness in our side. But all of a sudden, we've now developed this really, really, really special group together that can match it, and not just match it, but can beat most of the best midfields in the league. And, this also has to be taken in the context that this is a depleted group. There are other guys that, once fit, will be rotating through this midfield as well. Most notably would be, Langford, McGrath, throw Caldwell into the mix. That is a really, really deep and talented midfield group, and it's the makings of something that could be, a really sustainable finals presence side. So, it's exciting times.
And a name you didn't even mention there, Dylan Shield, obviously played there on the weekend, and there was a great tap where they must have had the discussion at some point during the game, but Sam Draper would have identified, or maybe it was a coach who simply said, "You're all over Tim English," and our midfielders just knew to get forward of the ball, and there was a tap where Draper just almost put it 10 metres out in front of Shield, who just ran on through it, took someone on and put it inside 50. Yeah, it's great. I'm honestly a bit lost to words. That's how impressive it was. I mean, there was a point, I think it might have been the second quarter, but they were discussing how at one point we were leading the clearance, I think 8-7, but we're losing ground ball gets, in the scrimmage 19-3, and I think that's the next phase of our game to win, is that we're still not a monster contested team. And you look at the sides who are, in the top part of the competition, whether it be Geelong or Melbourne, that's what they do very well. And I think the thing for us now to go to the next level, it's we know when we get the clearance game on our terms, we can cut you up. We've learnt that now this season. The next phase is that when that's not going against you, how can you still win the ball first possession from clearance? And that's the next phase of this game and, the development of this team. But knowing that we can do that we can cut teams apart, and we did, it's brilliant. So, yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Sam Draper, 14 hit-outs to advantage from a total of 39. And, you think about the last game against the Bulldogs last year where Tim English basically broke the Supercoach record with how badly he destroyed us. And then Draper gave him a bath.
Gave him a bath. And so he should, that placid little gimp. I actually quite liked him in English, but that's fierce.
Yeah, I do like him as well.
He's for such a young, developing ruckman, he's got a remarkable track record against playing with us. So I'm glad that we've finally found some sort of an antidote to playing against him.
Yeah, well said. You got something
Also
going?
glad that Draper finished that snag. I know it's been pretty painful for us over the last couple of weeks. He's been having his opportunity, but he struck that one perfectly, so that was even better.
Yeah, his goal kicking was great, but let's get to the man of the moment. I mean, if it wasn't for this performance, we wouldn't have won the game. It's pretty clear. Again, shout out to Damo Ryan, who on Saturday said, if we're going to win this game, Peter Wright's got to kick a bag. And he kicked a big one.
He kicked more than a bag.
7 snags.
But it wasn't just the fact that he kicked a bag. He was dobbing them from everywhere.
Yeah.
He was hitting them flush.
Yeah.
Like, I was just wishing we could be there so we could hear it in person. There's nothing better than when you hear them flush it. Every kick was dead straight. Dead straight. The goal umpire didn't move. The first one he kicked was unbelievable. And then the 6th and the 7th, just absolute joy, just smiling chin to chin. Mum even got off the couch. So the 7-seater, he's done unbelievable work yesterday.
Yeah, 7 snags, 7-seater. I mean, it could have been more. He had a couple of marks that he sort of fumbled. I mean, it's funny, in the first quarter, he had that handball airy where he went to handball. I can't remember who was in the goal square, but he went to handball it over the top. We would have had an easy goal, and he missed the ball with his hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, gee, no. Oh, God, this is going to be a bad day. And then he just went, nah. Turbo on, get the nitrous oxide pumping in the 7-seater, and he just went for it from there.
Mind you, Devon Smith bloody had that shot at the end of the last quarter. He shouldn't have. He had merit on, and he had 7-seater absolutely with 15 to 20 metres free of him.
Yeah.
Could have taken it to 8 seats.
Yeah.
He could have added an extra seat to his titanium, and
could have been a Tarago at that point, or a minibus maybe. Right. Look, like we'll discuss Peter more like holistically. Like, I'll be honest, I did not think he was capable of this. Like, I know I think he might have kicked 5 goals once for the Suns, but I've been pretty critical of him this whole season, and regular Sash listeners have heard most of our pods this year will know I've talked about him a lot and what I thought his ceiling was. And I always thought he was, his best was going to be a ruck forward who might pop up for a couple of goals, pinch you a little bit, and that's what it is. I didn't think he had this kind of performance. And look, we know there are better defenders out there, like, Josh Shackey and Cordy. They're limited, let's be real. But he still had to do it against a really big side. And it's just about being smart in his positioning. Like, one of my favourite passages, I think it might have been goal, maybe it might have been the 7th actually, or possibly the 6th, where he was in the ruck, did the tap, and it's obviously part of, the way we're swapping with him and Draper. And what he did is the first thing he did is he ran forward, and the ball went out to the wing, scrimmage, things happen. And then I think it was Durham who put it inside, and he had the mismatch on some poor, small Bulldogs defender. And that's just really clever work, and it's good coaching as well. But, yeah, I'll put my hand up. I didn't think Peter Wright was capable of this.
Same. And he desperately needed this. Honestly, he needed this big confidence boost, and it's come at the perfect time. I just hope he can follow through with it. I just feel like he's such a shy guy, and he doesn't know what he's capable of. Like, I'd love to see him kick a goal and go bump someone and stick it up in someone's face, or use his weight, throw the defender around. So, needing to gain some confidence. He seems like such a shy guy, and even on the ground. So hopefully hopefully this week doesn't get too much to his head, but it more gives him just general confidence and he can follow this through. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays against his old mob. I think that'll be a really good test.
I think Peter's one for mine who's always had the tools, but it's been a couple of things that have generally been restricting him. One is obviously an opportunity issue when at the Suns he fell behind a few young, developing key tools who, rightly or wrongly, Stewie Dew obviously took a preference to, and he was all of a sudden not getting games. I mean, I don't think he played a senior game in the year before coming to us, which is crazy for someone, he still would have only been 23 years old or thereabouts in his final year at the Suns. And for someone of his talent not to be getting a game, you think, especially for a team that's not bloody winning week in, week out like the Suns, you think that's a little bit ridiculous. So there's an opportunity issue, which, we've ticked that box now. There's a spot for him if he wants to fill it. And the other one, of course, is the confidence issues. He's very much a confidence player, as you touched on, Dames. He's got all the athletic attributes to be able to take the game by the scruff of the neck. But, rightly or wrongly at this stage, we've been critical of him sometimes because he doesn't split a pack, because he doesn't, have the same oomph that a few, or, competitive drive that a few of our players do. But, that's the type of game for me that could really, really just set him on a trajectory for something really good. We don't need him to be the number one forward necessarily, but if he can pop up for just a couple of goals a game, then he's filling a really, really valuable role for us.
I actually reckon that seventh goal put a nail in Cale Hooker's coffin.
Well, I've got it here in the run sheet. So I mean, yeah. I'll quick.
Yeah, there we go.
Talk about that in a second. Just back on the confidence thing. Lastly, Zach Merritt was on the radio this morning, and he said that when he came to the club, he's like he said. I think to quote, he said we rebuilt his confidence because he came, he was down, like you said, Ollie. He had a year, he didn't get a game. He's come in for a pretty late future pick, basically for peanuts. And they had to get around him as a leadership group and as a playing group and even the coaches and be like, no, we think you're good. We value, we're backing you in. And we've seen that steady improvement. Like I think it was the Collingwood game where we were just up at a few marks. Then he had a great game against North. And then it's just sort of built from there. And then we've got to this point. So, look, I think it's a real credit to the coaches, our leadership group, and just, the sort of atmosphere we've got in this playing group that they can take a guy who's dejected, he's been thrown the scrap heap, and we can go, no, there's value in you. We're going to help you get back there. And I think we're starting to see that.
And just on that as well, Rob, in the year that he was drafted, he was spoken about as being a potential number one pick. I know he went eventually at pick 8 to the Suns, but he was in the conversation for part of that year as being the top pick.
Yeah.
So, this is quite clearly a guy who recruiters have always known has a basket of talent and a basket of tricks. It's just a case of putting him in the right environment. And, there's some players who respond better to a little bit of nurture. And Big Peter, we're here to love you.
Yeah, we certainly are. Now, we'll go back to what you said before, Damo, about Cale Hooker. Yep. A mate of mine messaged me, and he goes, do you think there's any, this could be totally wrong, but do you think there's anything in the possibility that we've seen a fair bit this year where Peter Wright and Hooker have been deep, and they often go at the same ball, especially when we're delivering these high kick to nobodies. You'll see Hooker and Cale go with them, and what they usually bring is their man and maybe an extra. So you'll suddenly have these, 4, 5, 6-man packs going in for the ball. But he said to me, he's like, do you think there's anything in that without Hooker there and him getting that deeper role? We've got a lot of mobile guys around. Obviously, Jones wasn't in the side, that Peter just got the opportunity because he got all these one-on-ones. So, that was his thought there. But, bad for Cale? I think yes. I think
definitely.
you go.
If Cale wants to hold that forward spot, I don't know where our defense is at the moment, but Jimmy Stewart had actually a pretty good game yesterday. We don't know what we're doing with Francis at the moment, but if Hooker's in that role and with Peter and Peter's stepping up at the moment, I'd probably be happy. I know Cale can pop up and kick 35 goals for the year, but we're probably looking at the future at the moment, and it's probably more beneficial not to have Cale around in the forward line, is my opinion.
Yeah, and I think this also needs to weigh in the fact that we've got a bevy of young tools who were picked up in the last draft who you'd assume that at least one of them is going to be, putting their hand up for selection next year. We're talking Zach Reed. Could it be a Josh Eyre? Could it be a Cody Brand? Could it be a Kane Baldwin? There are guys who are waiting in the wings who I think Truck is going to want to give opportunities to. So whether... And I love Kale. Kale has been such a great clubman for us, and I think he's
so loyal.
He's so loyal. There have been periods when he has stuck by us, but it's going to be, I think, a hard conversation in the next couple of weeks. And I think at this stage, I'm leaning towards it being a severance, a parting of ways.
Yeah, I think if he is staying, it's an insurance policy play. It's a look, mate. You're not going to be starting each week, but if people go down, you might play a handful of games throughout the year. So if we do see Kale going round again, and look, I'm not opposed to the insurance policy scenario.
No.
He's on a low contract and he's there for that. Like, quite happy for that. I'm fairly certain he's quite popular amongst the playing group. I mean, I'm not in there, so I can't tell you that firsthand, but that's what I see. And so that's probably a good thing, but it's not a scenario where he's going to be first 22. While we're on forward structure, if Harry Jones is fit, and let's say Hooker's not playing, so let's just take Hooker out of the equation. If Harry Jones is fit, would you see a scenario where Jones, Francis, and Wright are playing in the same forward line, and probably Waterman as well, or does one of them have to go?
Nah, you'd have to put Francis back. I know Francis has been a really good option sometimes over the last two games. He jumps under the ball as a forward. He got the ball a lot in the first two quarters, but the second half he wasn't really anywhere. And I just feel like he'd get in the way of Peter Wright and Harrison Jones. So I feel way more comfortable having Francis in the back line. We know what he's capable of. As an intercept defender, he's great. He's got a huge boot on him. I just think he's just such a natural fit in that back line, and it would be more beneficial to the team's success having him playing back there.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Damo there. We've seen him go forward a couple of times. I haven't seen him really deliver any consistency of performance in the forward line. He looked good for a half on the weekend, and that might be worth persisting with, but there was a really good patch earlier this year when he was playing in defence, and I think that's just make the game easy for him, put the play in front of him, and I think that's where he's best utilised.
Well, look, there was plenty of other good players on the day, boys. I'll let you take the floor. Who would you like to single out for a bit of praise? Because there was a few pretty handy performances on the day.
Oh, I thought Tom Cutler had a fairly good game. His last 2 or 3 games, I think, have actually been pretty good. He's a great size, and he runs really well. He's got a huge boot on him. There was one stage yesterday he had a kick out. He kicked it about 65 metres as someone laced out on the chest, and it really opened us up for the fast break. So I think Cut's had a really, really great game, and he can bring some more consistency. I'd happily have him in the side all the time.
Yeah, I think one person I want to sing the praise of is Will Snelling. I thought he was huge, particularly at a time during yesterday's game when I thought they were breaking a lot of our tackles and we just couldn't seem to stick anything. But, he's had 10 tackles for the game, so he's always just one of those real barometers for us in terms of our pressure acts. And, the fact that I think he's actually developing into a really, really nice player, Snelling. He can win his own ball. Yeah, he does the team things like tackles. He's a reliable kick and set shot. So I think he's just one who's just quietly improving. And, he's now, I would think, one of the first picked each week.
Yeah, well said. We talk about people that bring pressure and effort. Will Snelling does that, and he's generally a pretty good user when he's got the ball. I'll go back to Tom Cutler there for a second, Damo. I guess it's another case where Rutten has come in and he's moved a player from where he was played under Worsfold. Now, it's not as big of a change going from the wing to a halfback role, but it's still a change. Like we saw last year when he was played in the wing that, look, let's be frank, he was terrible. He lost heaps of one-on-ones. He made bad decisions in traffic. He probably just wasn't there for that full heat. But suddenly in this, I don't know what you want to call it, the sort of fourth or fifth defender, semi-rebounder, back pocket, back flank, whatever it is now, it really suits him. Mert, when he first came to the club, was speaking about how the big rap on him when he was at the Lions was that he had a really penetrating kick. And you spoke about that example where he just got on the end of it and he put a 50-plus metre ball out of the forward line. And you see today with all the teams who, are good, they all play a forward sort of press type game. And if you can get the ball over the press and into one of your players' hands, then you're out. And the potential to score a goal there is massive. So, look, I still think he has plenty to work on with his physicality. I still think his one-on-ones have got a fair bit of work to do. But as an outlet player who you can use when the other guys might be doing the dirty work, he does a pretty good job. And, start of the year, we had a list of names of who we thought was just going to, get re-signed. And Con Cutler was in the bin for mine. But the last 3 weeks, he suddenly made me go, there's value here. The kid can play. Yeah. There's something there in this guy, and he's found himself a spot in the team. And we're not depleted in the back line; like we've got options there. But he's worked his way into the side, and he's playing some pretty good footy. So big raps on Tom. Someone else I want to just throw in there as well. Like again, not a world beater, but Marty Gleeson came in the absence of Heps, did his job. He's not bad. He's not amazing, but he just did what he has to do. And we're talking about having depth and having insurance policies and all this. Again, I think Marty Gleeson's doing enough to keep his colours. Apparently, Mason Redman's been offered a 1-match suspension. I'm not sure what for.
I've heard this.
Rough conduct.
What's it for?
Is it the dangerous tackle?
Surely not. I'm just watching this play now.
Better
it is. It is. They're giving him 1 match for that.
Are you kidding me?
That's a perfect tackle.
Are you kidding me?
What? Oh.
Send it to Jason Johnson.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, mate, the MRP is an absolute joke at the moment. I can't believe, like, for example, Toby Green copping the 2 weeks, and then Selwood, all he did was had eyes for the man, didn't even look at the ball, had eye contact, and he walks. And Mason gets a week. That is ridiculous.
I'm sure we'll be challenging that one. Speaking of defenders, Jordan Ridley just gets it done each week. Just
love him.
Just
in love with him.
Does the job. Smooth,
so composed,
relaxed.
Oh, it's just you feel so calm when the ball is in his hand. Which makes it a lot easier.
Stewart looked okay. Stewart looked okay on the weekend.
Yeah, Stewart looked really good. I thought Jimmy played a really good game yesterday. He read the ball in the air really well, and his disposal and decision making was perfect yesterday. So really good step in the right direction for him.
Another one was Dill Clark. I think was actually pretty solid.
Yep.
Agreed.
One of certainly his best game for the year. So credit where credit's due. He came in and played a good role.
Yeah. What I love about Dill is that that he's not going to I'm trying to think of an appropriate term. He's not going to, bitch out of a contest. Like he's going to, if there's a 50-50 ball and you've got to put your head over it and have a crack, he's going to do it. Like he's not an eloquent kick, and you see plenty of times where he'll win the ball at sort of forward flank and he'll just sort of loft it into the 50 and just sort of hope someone gets onto it. But he's far from soft, and when we've got a few guys around who can be that elite outside users, having someone who's going to get the dirty work and help them get the footy is a great thing. And again, a guy who, he's on the rookie list potentially in the scrap heap after John. He's had a tough run with injuries. He's putting himself back in the conversation. So, look, I know we've still got some finals chat to have, and we'll get to that after the break. But I'm honestly so fascinated about who is going to stay on next year, because if you are, 10 weeks ago, it was an easy question. Like, these guys are in, these guys are out. Now I'm just like, I don't know. Like, guys playing well. Few negatives to talk about. You mentioned the missed tackles, Ollie. It was a big issue early in the game. I felt undersized. And look, I think Mert brought it up in our thread, someone needs to teach Sam Durham how to tackle properly. because he's
he
very
runs too quickly at the contest, and then someone just does like a dummy step, and he's 3.5 meters the other way because he's just got eyes for the ball. He just runs too quickly, and he has his waist to the side. He needs to get his waist in front of the person who's trying to tackle, and just hold them up or something like that. His intent is 10 out of 10. He's always there. But that's the issue. I've just looked up. He had one tackle yesterday, and if they counted tackle attempts, he would have to be at 12. He was always there, but that's just how many he missed yesterday. So if he can improve on that, he'll be one hell of a presence. In regards to pressure on our team. So
yeah, of course.
The thing, and I think they'll bring that up with him. It was pretty evident yesterday.
Yeah, like it's not a.
But he wasn't the only one as well.
Oh no, of course not. But like we're just singling him out, and obviously, we're not trying to pot a youngster here, but like it's a technique thing less so than an effort thing. The effort's there, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like a few times where he's just arms reaching out, and then he gets hold of someone, but he hasn't got any body behind it, and he's just trying to he's not big enough. He's not a ruckman where Sam Draper can just grab someone by their jumper and throw them because that's how big he is. But Sam Durham can't do that. Like, I know people pot him a lot for the mistakes that he has, but honestly, he should take a leaf out of Devon Smith's book, get out the Crichton Medal highlights and sit him down and go, this is how you tackle someone.
Speaking of Devon, the free kicks just needs to cut it.
I didn't think that downfield was there. I thought that was soft. People, a few people in the threads that I'm in are getting upset, but that's soft.
You can't
soft.
tackle with a closed fist or something like that. I don't know. But even...
You can't tackle Bulldogs players, apparently.
Shall we talk about Pippa?
Yeah. He needs to stop flying for contests. I think he's had too many years of being the Essendon centre-half forward that he's forgotten that he's a small forward. And when you've got a guy who's literally playing the game of his career next to you, get under his feet, because he was flying at balls alongside Francis and alongside Wright. It's like, man, get front and centre. I don't know what it is.
He needs to know his game.
I don't know what it is.
And also the brain fade at the end of the game where cost us a goal, where he tapped the ball and gave away a 60-metre penalty. Yeah. That was just...
That was silly.
Whether it's reflexes or what, that could have been costly. That was... He's lucky we were up by a little bit more.
Yeah, but he's just in a bit of a rut tip.
He is.
First half of the year, he was all Australian talks. He was flying, and he's giving away. Look, when you're completely on the boundary line and you think there's an easier option, all right, fair enough. But he's passing things off that he probably wouldn't have before. He's not crumbing the ball. I haven't seen him try and dance around someone, which makes me feel like he must be carrying a niggle.
Some sort of a niggle, yeah.
A groin injury or something.
But because the first half of the year, it was like he was covered in grease. People couldn't touch him. They put a hand on him and he'd just slip and slide and dip and duck and he was away. But I don't know. He's in a bit of a rut tip. So I don't know what he needs to get it going. Maybe in a few easy goals against a Collingwood or a Gold Coast pre-finals. But he's in a rut.
He's slowed down a bit. I think another pair who have slowed down is Archie and Nick Cox. Our first years there. I mean, obviously Archie didn't play on the weekend, but Cox, I think, probably since his Rising Star nominations, has sort of, I don't know, maybe just the effects, the wear and tear of the longer season and taking their toll a little bit. I'm still really glad that we're playing him, and he's absolutely got a spot. And I think these last few weeks will be invaluable for them. But yeah, it's just one that you come to expect, the first few players who are getting tired towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm with you on Arch. I actually feel like Coxie's had a bit of a dip and then he's sort of come back up again. I don't think he's absolutely as good as he was, but I think his last couple of weeks have been okay. He's get a fair bit of the ball, he's involved in the chains, whereas you're right, there was a bit of a lull there where he was a bit depleted. But man, he's a 200-centimetre unicorn and he hasn't missed a game. Remember that game?
Remarkable.
He was meant to be the med sub and then he came in 3 minutes into the game because we got an injury. He hasn't missed a game. It's crazy. Any more praises or bads, boys? Otherwise, we'll go to a break.
Yeah, I would like to just bring up the 2 free kicks that Bont received in the last quarter. They were ridiculous.
And the other part, the thing that incensed me more was the fact that the commentators weren't touching on it at all. It was as if
it was a ball.
It was as if it was a reasonable call. And then, anyone with two eyes could see that it was absolute bullshit.
He had prior opportunities. He took on the player and he didn't dispose of the football.
Yeah. You go.
If that had cost us the game, I cannot begin to fathom. I would have written in an angry letter.
Yeah, a well-worded email.
Delivered it.
Yeah, the Redmond tackle, which has now he's been given a week for. You listen to the commentary. I forgot his name. The guy that's not Brian Taylor, the one who's who acts like a professional. He actually says in the call, he goes, "Great work by Redmond, great tackle," and then he hits the deck, and then it's dangerous contact, and he goes, "Oh, guess it wasn't the live call, which is the instinct, was that it was right, which is what most people would have thought." Like we've copped a few of those. Like I know Kyle Langford's been prone to getting a couple because he's just a big lumberer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, it's a game of AFL football. It's a good tackle to pin their arm. He didn't dump him. He just came to ground. Like, there's vicious tackles, and then there's that. Yeah. That wasn't vicious.
No, not at all. Not even close.
Far from. Let's take a breather, fellas, and we'll come back and we'll look at the run home because suddenly finals are back on the menu. While we take a break from talking Bombers, Liquorland have been there for Don supporters from wooden spoons to finals wins. Right now, Liquorland has some great deals on beer slabs, including 2 for specials on selected brands. Head to liquorland.com.au/specials/beer specials to see what's on offer.
That's right, Rob. You can get yourself 2 slabs of Asahi for $90, an absolute steal. Almost as good as getting Peter Wright for a future 4th rounder.
Remember, you can sign up today and get $10 off your first purchase. Visit liquorland.com.au with 30-minute click and collect also available. Please drink responsibly. T&Cs apply. See online for details. Alrighty, let's get back to the show. Welcome back. No VFL chat, of course, tonight. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any to speak of, so Paul will not be joining us. But we're going to look at the run home and work out how we can get into finals is what we need to look at. So if you haven't spent all day on the ladder predictor like myself, this is the lowdown, everyone. So as it stands, time of recording, Eagles 7th with 40 points, percentage of 95.9. Giants are 8th, points of 38, percentage of 96.4. Then we're 9th. 36 points, 103.4%, and then Richmond are 10th behind us, 36 points and 100 percentage at the moment. So what needs to come? So the Eagles are playing tonight against the D's over at Optus. So if you're watching that game now and you're listening to the pod, cheer on the D's. I don't like Melbourne, but let's cheer them on because we're D supporters tonight. Get around buddy Clayton Oliver and Petrakis and all them. So what we need to happen is the Eagles need to lose 2 of the next 3. We need to win our 2. That's one scenario. Or option B is the Giants lose 1 of their 2 and we win both. That's the way that we get in. We need to win both our games. That's the bare minimum that needs to happen. So the Eagles have Melbourne at Optus. Then they've got Freo at Optus, which will be big. And they've got Brisbane at the Gabba. I think most of us would agree that they're not going to beat Brisbane at the Gabba.
No, it's a pretty tough one. But stranger things have happened in around 23 assignments. So
Correct.
I've tried the ladder predictor one too many times and failed. I just have no idea how it's going to pan out. A few things obviously have to fall our way. I'm more confident. So, I think I'm more confident on taking West Coast spot, if any. They just looked so poor last week against Collingwood that, the ability for them to just capitulate and win only 1 of 3 as required is, I think, more likely than GWS capitulating and losing the double.
Yeah, so I think, look, I would expect Melbourne to beat them tonight. The Freo game's a toss of a coin. Freo have an amazing ability just to not show up sometimes when they have a derby over there. They're still in the hunt for the 8, mind you. They're on us. They're 36 points, but obviously percentage isn't going their way. Then Brisbane's the other one. So the Giants, they've got Richmond next weekend. Was going to be in Sydney. Obviously won't because of the COVID situation. Who knows where they're going to play that? So, I mean, if it ends up being at Marvel, you know, Richmond could sneak that, which means that they'll be above us, assuming we don't win. Then the Giants have got Carlton in the last round. And, I mean, if there is a sinking ship in this competition at the moment where people are jumping overboard, it is the Carlton Football Club right now. So I feel like that unless David Teague has got one last hurrah in him to save his job, I feel like Sardi and co are going to be losing to the Giants in round 23.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know what I want to happen. I'm just looking at it now. I'm like, do I want Richmond to win both their games and hope that we get them on percentage if we win? I mean, we still haven't even talked about, I mean, we need to win our 2 games. And with Gold Coast and Pies, I know they're below us on the ladder, but they're no certainty either. So
yeah, the Gold Coast one's interesting because obviously it's meant to be up at Metricon, but again, nothing's been confirmed yet, and I don't know. Just because this is the thing, I don't know if they're going to let us travel up there. I mean, they might do that whole, you know, get a bazillion swabs and up you go type scenario, but I don't know. There's just this there's this little part of me that goes, maybe the AFL won't be dicks and will just give us a home game because we spent half the season out there. Like,
I think it all comes down to revenue though. Like if they're out of lockdown now, will they be allowed to have crowds? I mean, whether that's even 10,000, I think.
I'm not sure, yeah.
I think the AFL and the clubs will look at that and they'll see that as a bonus. So I think, I don't know. I'm assuming Gold Coast is still in Melbourne at the moment.
I'm not sure. Where did they play on the weekend?
I think I said it this morning. It reeks of Sunday 4:40.
Yeah, it's got a bit of that about it. Who did they play? Oh, they played Carlton here.
They played Carlton at Marvel.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, yeah, that's the one. And then, you know what? Collingwood, this back end of the year since Bucks has gone, they have a good win, then they have a couple of bad losses, and they have a good win. And if there's one thing the Collingwood Football Club would love to do is to spoil our finals party. Their season's done, and they'll just go, you know what? Hang our hats on this. We got them. You know, we'll take that with us. They would love that. So, you know, on paper, yes, we should win both games, but that's not how footy's played, unfortunately.
I wouldn't discount as well if one spot in the 8 becomes available. And say, for example, it's us and Richmond who have won both our games and we're vying for that one position. I wouldn't be surprised if by the last round it really comes down to a percentage game and Richmond have Hawthorn in that round 23 game. So who knows, their ability to score quickly and win big is pretty pronounced. So, it could be a nervous wait if that is the case.
One game at a time, fellas. I guess we'll just have to go for Melbourne tonight.
Yeah, big time. If Melbourne could, pull off a demoralising win against West Coast, then who knows? Maybe they want to pack up shop for the year.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So I don't know. Lot to play out, but who would you want? I mean, let's jump the gun here. Let's just say in a beautiful, beautiful outcome, we end up playing finals. Generally looks like we're either going to be playing against Brisbane in Queensland or there's Sydney in Sydney. Well, now the Sydney game probably wouldn't be scheduled there, would it?
No, I think they would. Sydney would probably have the choice to try and pick somewhere. So I would assume you'd probably end up playing them in Queensland. Or even maybe South Australia. I think ACT is probably off the roster because they wouldn't. Look, they could pick the G. I mean, who knows? But they wouldn't pick Marvel. So again,
I think I'd choose Sydney regardless over Brisbane.
Yeah,
I was sure we can match it against them this year. I mean, we've had 2 really tight games against them, so you just go on past performance, most recent past performance, and they're the team that we can actually match it with.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer Sydney as well. Like, I know it was pretty hard circumstances when we played Brisbane early in the year, but I feel like they've just got a few more experienced bodies who've spent some time in finals and just kind of know how to do it. Like, I know they've got a few injury problems here and there, but I think Sydney's the gettable one for mine. So Sydney, don't have to play at the SCG, which is a huge tick. Get him on a neutral ground. You know, get him at the Gabba or at Metricon.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Bring
it on.
I'm happy
Bring
with that.
it on.
Boys, been a great pod.
I just looked at the Redmond tackle again. If he gets suspended for a week,
I'm done.
I'd almost get a tattoo of Mert on my tushy.
Get a tattoo of Mert. How many Merts do you want? Has anyone from the Gold Coast been suspended? No. Boys, we're going to wrap it up there. Great pod as always. Thanks everyone for listening.
Been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure, boys.
Thanks, of course, to our premium subscribers who are on the Horde. If you want to sign up and support the show, find the link in the bio or just go to thehorde.com. You can support the show directly, you get bonus content, and of course you get an ad-free show as well. So if you want to get around that, we very much thank you and thank those who are already doing it. So everybody, enjoy your week. It was a bloody good performance, but 2 more to go. We're almost there.
2 more to go.
Go Bombers.
Yeah.
Go Dons.
Feet up.